DaAi Technology spends a year developing pressure garments to help burn victims' recovery. DaAi TV Indonesia invites disabled performers from China to join their 10th birthday celebration. Welcome to DaAi Headlines. I'm Marilee Shoda. Thank you for joining us. We begin today's program in Taiwan. A massive gas explosion occurred in Taichung's Fengjia business district on July 18th. One of the severely injured victims, gas store owner Mr. Zhang, has passed away due to sepsis and multiple organ failure. Upon learning of the news, Tzu Chi volunteers went to visit Mr. Zhang's mother to offer condolences and help. They will also hold a blessing ceremony in Xiping Borough, where the gas explosion occurred.
When the gas explosion occurred, Zhang Yanquan bore the brunt of the explosion and suffered burns to 90% of his body. After half a month of emergency treatment, he still passed away due to sepsis, which led to multiple organ failure. After Zhang's body was brought back to Nantou, Tzu Chi volunteers visit his mother, who works at a hospital.
Later on, he could not urinate and his liver function index rose. If he suffered from multiple organ failure, it would be hard to control.
Mrs. Zhang, a Buddhist who has witnessed impermanence at her workplace, handles her son's funeral with strength and calmness.
Currently, she isn't having financial issues. However, we must come often to deliver loving care.
To put people's minds at ease, Tzu Chi volunteers will pray for the deceased, as well as hold a blessing ceremony in Xiping Borough, where the explosion took place.
Moving to southern Taiwan, Tzu Chi's online study group has invited a burn survivor from the Kaohsiung gas explosion to share his life story. Since the burn survivor is also a Tzu Chi documenting volunteer, he talked about why he decided to pick back up the camera. During the study session, staff from DaAi Technology also shared their experiences in developing the fabric for pressure garments.
3 years have passed since the Kaohsiung gas explosion, and Tzu Chi's online study group has invited one of the burn victims, Chen Chu Ray, to come share his life story.
Could it have the kind thoughts to tolerate those who are different from us? I've chosen to use a camera to show people the world I see.
Besides sharing his life story, Chen also mentions that the fabric of the pressure garment he wears was developed by DaAi Technology.
It is easier to stretch at the joints. It is really different from I used before.
After the Formosa Fun Coast Water Park explosion, the master asked us to develop the fabric for pressure garments. We then spent a year developing it.
Our sharing includes the development of DaAi Technology's pressure garment fabric. These are all related to the explosions that occurred.
Listening to the burn victim's life experience and learning about the pressure garment development, the attendees have truly benefited from this study group.
In our next report, we meet another survivor of the Kaohsiung gas explosion, Chen Ziyu, who suffered a spinal cord injury and became paralyzed from the waist down. After the accident, Chen's younger brother helped her undergo rehab and training and encouraged her to face life's challenges. Let's take a look at how she remained strong and independent thanks to her brother's unrelenting spirit.
Riding at the speed of 20 kilometers an hour to go out with her 2-year-old nephew, Ziyu spent a year to train herself to do this.
我那时候在垦丁工作，垦丁回屏东的时候，那是下着大雨啊。
I was working Kending back then. In the rain, I rode my scooter to travel to Kaohsiung. When I arrived, it was about 4 or 5 o'clock. When I saw my sister at the hospital, I cried.
医院那边的，然后我就看到我姐了，我就哭出来了这样。
His sister Ziyu, who just got off work, was blown away by the force of the explosion and became unconscious. That year, she was 25.
不想吃也要骂她，然后
I had to scold her if she did not want to eat or undergo rehab, or if she overslept. I was concerned about helping her undergo rehab and training during the golden period.
遵守这些康复跟锻炼这样。双手撑着之后，它通常要分2次，1次、2次，这样子就会够。
Ziyu's younger brother made sure Ziyu ate regularly and underwent rehab. For 365 days, he would not let her slack off.
真的那一年没有他，就没有现在。
Without my younger brother, I would not be here today. Sometimes I thought to myself, if he did not force me during that year, what would I be doing now?
谢谢。哇！
我那时候非常抗拒，就是去。
Back then, I did not want to face the crowd. When I went out in a wheelchair, people would stare at me and their looks were asking me, why would you be sitting in a wheelchair at such a young age? I did not want people to have pity on me.
Ziyu, who's a very independent girl, stood up to her challenges. A year and a half after the explosions, she went harvesting radishes, joining marathon and diving with the strength of her arms. Ziyu still has to undergo rehabilitation to relax her uptight muscles. Although she cannot completely recover from her injuries, she's already doing her best in overcoming life's challenges and obstacles.
After the flooding of Jilin, China, affected villagers were still in a dark and gloomy mood as they struggled to rebuild their homes. Tzu Chi did not stop their care nor leave these flood survivors, but instead helped them clean up their homes and helped distribute daily necessities. Over 2 days, Jingsi folding beds and blankets were given, helping these individuals overcome this flooding disaster.
Hearing the voices of these volunteers, this grandmother, who was taking a nap, got up quickly and was in good spirits. Volunteers brought a Jingsi folding bed to this family and gave the elderly grandfather to test. After the flood of Jilin, Tzu Chi volunteers have shown care for survivors of the flood. After a distribution of daily necessities at the end of July, and in early August, blankets were distributed.
What is our relationship with Tzu Chi volunteers? It's like we are one big family. They bring us warmth and everything is quite touching.
This manufacturer also gave encouragement and didn't stop working, as we need to thank Mr. Hao and this factory leader for lending us full support and helping us complete this distribution.
Comparing that quilt, the military one, this blanket has no question of quality. It shows your compassion and care is something that money can't even measure.
Volunteers have been accompanying these villagers after the flooding disaster, helping lift their mood. Shouting encouragement, many now hope that these flood survivors will find the strength and power to rebuild their homes.
Also in China, but about the flooding in Changsha. After the floods receded, local farmers hurried to restore their livelihood. Yet as their life savings were washed away, who has the money to purchase fertilizer? Knowing their worries, Tzu Chi volunteers purchased 185.5 tons of organic fertilizer to distribute to 265 farming families. During the distribution, many of the affected farmers also came to help in the event. Hunan's Changsha suffered a recent flooding. After the waters receded, farmers must begin restoring their livelihood. Tzu Chi volunteers distribute organic fertilizer to help 265 affected farming families, with each receiving 700 kilograms of fertilizer. The reduction of chemical fertilizer and manure fertilizer helps lessen the pollution on the environment. Working in the smoldering sun is a group of affected residents who are also farmers.
We have strength and labor skills, especially since the temperature is so hot. We're used to the heat and can bear the workload. It's not tiring at all for us. This is much like regular work for us.
A farming family of 4 from Jiangxi especially came to be of service.
Our home was flooded quite heavily. Thanks to everyone in Tzu Chi's assistance, we got through it. This is our first time being volunteers. Seeing how hot the weather is today, yet you're here to support the disaster victims, we're quite grateful. I'm sure they feel your care.
Fertilizer companies and entrepreneurs also involve themselves in this relief mission. Seeing the fruits of their labor sprouting one by one, hope for a new day is near. China Disabled People's Performing Arts Troupe was invited to give 4 performances in 2 days for the 10th anniversary of DaAi TV Indonesia, entertaining audiences of over 5,000 people. The troupe gave various performances such as music, drama, dance, and their classical performance of 10,000 Hand Bodhisattva. Tai Li Hua, the troupe's master, was touched to see the great love villages Tzu Chi has built in Jakarta and was very supportive of Master Jinyan's ideals of great love having no national boundaries.
Bodhisattva of compassion vows to benefit the public, so the Bodhisattva also sometimes is seen to have 10,000 hands and eyes. This inspired the China Disabled People's Performing Art Troupe to create their classical piece, 10,000 Hand Bodhisattva.
I was very impressed because all of them are disabled, but they can overcome their physical limitations.
The performances exhibit the highest value, and from it we understand the value of goodness and beauty.
To celebrate the 10th anniversary of DaAi TV Indonesia, Tzu Chi volunteers also invited 300 students from the special school to the show.
The purpose is to encourage them. These artists on the stage all have disabilities, but they still seek to give perfect performances. As long as one seeks to strive, he will succeed.
In daily life, these troupe members who are either blind, deaf, mute, or physically disabled work together to get everything done.
The performers are very independent, so we simply keep them company and see if they need anything. Then we will give them help right away.
Despite their physical disabilities, these troupe members strive to realize their dreams, perform to encourage people, and pass on blessing.
As we further pursue this topic in our series on e-learning, scholars has pointed out that a low IQ society has arrived and is exacerbated by the use of mobile phones and video games. Others, however, say that paper or book-based learning can't keep up with the efficiency of the human brain as social media messaging mediums and microlearning concepts are emerging. National Open University is also transferring teaching films once broadcasted on TV onto the internet. Let's see how online education is overtaking the world's learning experience.
At 6:30 p.m., this is an important moment in the history of education in Taiwan, as the UHF broadcast channel is showing the opening ceremony of this first domestic long-distance learning university. In 1986, this historic moment captured the attention of the nation. More than 19,000 students and more than 5,000 elective students are testing the limits of technology. At that time, many thought they could learn at home by watching TV, but some 10 years later, the TV has been quickly bypassed as a means of communication, disappearing right before our very eyes.
Now even mini discs are gone, and over the past 10 years, a lot of things are passing into history.
Computers and mobile phones continue to rise while television and CDs are continuing to shrink and pass into history and deposited in warehouses and forgotten.
撒下新的种子，因为你知道。
This antique reel-to-reel recorder is still operational, but it looks like an ornament now. National Open University has a collection from the first year of these 1-inch tapes, as well as VHS tapes that are part of history. Now all of the courses are offered online. 17 years ago, NOU gave CTS $2.3 million to broadcast its program, but last year it paid just $9,200. With computer technology proceeding so quickly, who wants to continue relying on the TV?
Actually, TV-type teaching instruction and its benefits can really be compared to internet-based educational materials.
形态来相比拟。这个年龄层，那也会针对这个年龄层他们的需要做教玩具、书籍、日记、空间设备。
In this studio, a 30-minute teaching film is shortened into a 5 to 8-minute clip for the internet.
我们
People's attention span has shortened, so now it is difficult for us to produce a 30-minute program.
5 to 8 minutes is the length for digital learning. It's quietly setting off a revolution, and many can no longer disregard the trend of micro-learning.
我是古阿莫，今天要说一个人格分裂进化的故事。
Whether one is watching 5-minute videos on the internet or checking Facebook messages, many people are no longer putting an emphasis upon reading, but are shortening everything, as this phenomena has been well researched.
包括 Coursera、edX 跟
Data from Coursera Udacity finds that college student attention and focus declines dramatically after 15 minutes.
15分钟之后，它就会呈指数型的下降。
15 minutes may be the limits of human concentration. This is the focus of digital education, as many are now finding it too hard to go back, though there is a lot of challenges in using such resources.
I have taught students in this era of information explosion. In addition to learning how to search out information firstly, you also have to learn how to apply it, and then you need to know how to analyze right or wrong. There can be lots of false information.
Peter, who is a tutor, is also a user of digital resources such as YouTube, as he references foreign teaching methods. He even uses a digital learning platform to aid his teaching.
In fact, students have self-learning ability. We just need to give them a good way or a good platform. I think they can do it through Google or YouTube. Just type a keyword and you can really find everything that you want.
Digital learning is quickly developing, with information becoming readily available, as many believe that a sort of fast food culture is now upon us. However, regardless of how one learns, either through books or the internet, there's no right way or wrong way to go about this, as long as one is attentive and interested in the subject.
Malacca Tzu Chi volunteer Yao Chai was diagnosed with stomach cancer earlier this year, and in July he saw rapid deterioration and passed away on July 23rd at the age of 57. He joined Tzu Chi in 2001, and 7 years later he gave up his high salary to join the ranks of volunteers. For 16 years, he pursued the Bodhisattva path, working with many groups such as recycling, general affairs, traffic, and sound. He made friends with everyone he worked with, and his funeral attracted 370 volunteers to pay their respects.
When my husband was sick, every day there was someone who came to my house to give him encouragement and love, as well as inquire about him and bring him blessings.
With sadness at the departure of their dear loved one, Tzu Chi volunteer Yao Chai's family and the Tzu Chi Dharma family offer him the most sincere blessing at this memorial.
I love him. I really wish him well. We will meet on the Tzu Chi Bodhisattva path, and I will continue to give my blessings to him.
In 2001, Yao Hak-tai joined Tzu Chi and became involved in recycling, general affairs, traffic, and charitable works. 7 years later, he gave up his high salary to work for the foundation.
He worked for a big company as an assistant manager. From this high position, he became a volunteer and a colleague. He was willing to change, which earned the admiration of others.
Despite his serious demeanor, Yao had a soft heart and appeared to be as a gentle giant. Now that he has left this world, his spirit has been imprinted on many.
His impression upon me is that every day when he ate breakfast, he talked about Tzu Chi, and at lunch, he also talked to me about Tzu Chi. In the end, I decided to join Tzu Chi.
When I saw him the last time, he asked if we had too much work to do. This deeply impressed me, as brother's last words were about our work.
At the end of his life, Yao Hak-tai still had Tzu Chi in his heart, and for 16 years he traveled the Bodhisattva path and continued to help others.
Chemotherapy is an important treatment for cancer patients, though many are afraid of the side effects of such treatment and often delay seeking medical assistance. Take Mr. Mo from Taichung, for instance. When he found out he had cancer, he refused treatment, but after the medical team explained that he can also receive Chinese medicine treatments to alleviate his side effects, he was willing to take a chance with this treatment.
I was eating something and chatting with a friend when I accidentally bit my own tongue. The wound didn't heal and just got worse.
Mr. Mo delayed seeking treatment on his tongue for a whole year, and when he did finally go to the doctors, it was diagnosed as cancer. After surgery, the doctors suggested chemo treatment. Mr. Mo did not want to continue.
I heard chemotherapy had terrible effects, so I began to reject the idea.
Mr. Mo's hesitation isn't unlike most cancer patients. The thought of losing their hair, physical tiredness, and vomiting. These side effects are not easy to deal with. However, pre and during chemo treatment, there are many ways to alleviate the side effects.
We'll do a pre-chemotherapy treatment which is administered by the nurses. We'll then use the time when these medicines go into effect before we begin that chemotherapy. This way, it will reduce some of the side effects. Chinese herbal medicine can help patients boost their physical strength. Using Western and Eastern combo treatment, it helps chemo patients a lot.
With the detailed care of the Taichung Tzu Chi Hospital, Mr. Mo accepted chemo treatment, and his condition is quite stable.
Though this journey is difficult, I am still here with my family.
With the support of his family and the care of the medical team, Mr. Mo has been given a second chance at life. And now he encourages other patients just like him to bravely face their ailments head-on. As there are many orphans in Indonesia due to families unable to afford taking care of them, Tzu Chi volunteers in the country also regularly spend time with them, as well as seniors in nursing homes. These two groups of disadvantaged individuals often feel neglected. Thus, Tzu Chi volunteers make sure to send them lots of love and care. We will leave you with these images at the end of the program. Thank you for joining us today. See you next time.